Hey Gemini, what's going on? We're here with the Timeless reading. Welcome. The first card that we have out is Justice. And I was seeing Queen of Swords on the bottom of the deck. Justice, Temperance. Okay. This is looking more than anything like something that's going on between you and another person. Justice and Temperance is about sort of like finding the balance, finding the right way, a way that's going to work for you, a way that's going to work for another person. Temperance in this regard is feeling kind of like getting something right here. Getting like the correct way. Again, feels like between you and another person, getting this correct. Something that you guys are working out, something that you guys are figuring out. This Temperance card in this deck feels like being down for the process. So whatever is sort of entailed when it comes to this level, being down to figure it out. And this Temperance card also has like a being on one side and a being on another side. So it's kind of like, how do we play this game together, or like how do we figure out this level together? And Justice is going to be like the way that works for them, the way that works for you, and finding like what is that way where there's that commonality of like this is actually working for both of us, like that type of thing. Justice also too kind of gives the context of you being in a situation where there's something going on with you and another person. It looks like something is actively being created. It looks also like it's important for you to be in the right headspace when this is going on, and to also know when to take a step back or when to back off, just as much as when to be involved. Seeing all of these things be important here. This is also too knowing like, when do I need to pull back because I'm not in the right space? When is it a good time for me to be involved and in here and creating because I am in the right space to be doing that, or communicating when I'm in this space to be doing that? I'm seeing something going on here. Page of Cups, it seemed like wanting to come out reversed. This can be an undoing of something. Like when I see Page of Cups reversed, it feels like being uninvited. Page of Cups can be sort of like an invitation or a gesture. Page of Cups reversed can be sort of like taking that back, or it can be like hearing something or feeling something, and then sort of like doing a reverse there. It feels like a disengaging of some sort, like a pulling back of some sort, or a never mind, like that type of thing. I want to get further and see here. You could have felt up for something and then something going on where maybe you weren't feeling like that anymore. This is even like, I'm seeing Knight of Cups move in the direction of Eight of Cups. So it feels like somebody is like on their way to say something. Eight of Cups can be somebody that's sort of like already left the space even. Like someone finally like, hey, I'm gonna say something. Eight of Cups can be like that person is not there anymore in that space anymore. And then Page of Cups can feel like a taking something back of some sort. So there could have been something that was established and then it was sort of like unestablished. But I'm seeing there's going to be clarification for what this is, what's going on. I'm seeing Knight of Swords on the bottom of the deck, which is meaning that if anything needs to be cleared up, it is going to be cleared up. But yeah, there could have been something that was coming together that ended up sort of that plan dissolved. I will say this though, Justice and Knight of Cups being connected with the Sun is like something being expressed that needed to be expressed, that was for some reason important to this process. So before, it could have been like somebody was thinking about something, or something wasn't ready to be expressed yet, like it still needed time to cook. Now at this point it's like ready, it's mobile. So then there's the pushing forward of this, of like, I've gotten to a place where I feel centered within myself. This means like a balance of the heart and the mind here, or of like the spiritual or the material, like whatever this is, it's sort of like two things joining together to come into a balanced space. Knight of Cups feels then like the execution of that being expressed, and then the Sun is going to be like when that thing is actually received, like the translation of that. So it's the message that's communicated, and then that moment when it's being read or when it's being heard, you know, where it's like I sort of showed up and I did what I needed to do, like that type of thing. I'm seeing Temperance and I'm seeing Eight of Cups, which feels like a not being hasty here with the moves that are being made. So there could have almost been a, like, I'm gonna move this way, and then potentially like a rethinking of that, or a trying to figure out what's going to fit into place here. And there can also be too this desire to explore or discover what one is looking for, but not knowing so much what that is yet. So it can be like, I'm stepping with the intention that there's something that I'm looking to connect with. I just may not know what exactly that thing is, and needing to be patient with the process, which is feeling like moving based off of resonance. Is this resonating with me? No, then I'm gonna move. Is this resonating with me? Maybe, then I'm gonna stick here and figure it out. Is this resonating with me? Yes, then I'm gonna move in that direction, like that type of thing. It feels like the green light, yellow light, red light process of this, and being down to, that's where I'm seeing this like level be involved. Like, are you willing to sort of play this level out and see what happens to find the thing that fits just right? Having Magician and having Page of Cups here is about the uniting of the spirit or the heart, and then also the mind and the intention. So it's like the thinking that's happening, and the creating that's happening, and the intention, along with sort of the feelings that one has. So I'm not just in my cerebral energy here. I'm also in a space where I'm feeling things out, where I'm tuning in. And so there's the like amalgamation of those two energies here. And I'm seeing the moon on the bottom of the deck, which feels like this is sort of sorting through a bit of an unknown process here, where there can be some things that aren't totally figured out, yet one is sort of just in the process of doing so. But things can feel a bit confusing. Okay. Gemini, I'm seeing you come out here. It looks like there's something that's still being figured out between you and another person here. You can feel in a way like certain things have been expressed, yes. Seven of Cups is like, I'm feeling unsure about this, or I'm still figuring out how I feel about this. And it looks like it has to do with you and somebody else that you're connected with here. Something not easy between you and this person, Gemini. Some of you, this is a work or a school, something like that situation. It can also be a personal one too, but I'm seeing for some of you, this isn't necessarily like a romantic thing. It can be like somebody that you're collaborating with, somebody that you're working with. It can have to do with your public life for some of you. Resources can be involved in this, or just like stuff that you're moving around within, that there's going to be like a physical manifestation of this that's more tangible. It does seem like with time, what you're working through is going to be cleared up, but it may not be that yet. I get this sense that you're sort of feeling out a relationship here to get a better understanding of your feelings about it, but there can be things that are like posing challenges to this for some reason, actually. When Nine of Wands came out, I'm seeing the moon on the bottom of the deck. Moon is Pisces. I'm just putting this out there because I've seen the moon multiple times now. Having moon on the bottom of the deck with Nine of Wands is giving the feeling of the reason why something is challenging is because you're working through the unknowns of it. So there can be some stuff where you're like, well, if everything was known already or it was out on the table, this would be much easier to figure out right now. But because there are some things that like haven't happened yet, or that I don't know about, or that we haven't found out yet, they can be making it more difficult to sort of like figure out your feelings surrounding things that you don't even know yet, you know? So it feels like the unknown territory of exploring things can have you in a position where you're unsure about things, where you're unclear about things, which is just normal, but it can feel a little bit frustrating at this time because you can be like, I wish that everything was out on the table so I could deduce what I want to deduce at this point. But I'm getting that there are some factors that are not present yet within this, but I'm seeing that they will be. Like everything with time is going to be sort of put on the table. It's just I'm seeing not everything is really there yet. And so the part of you that's like, I like to figure things out rapidly is being tempered now. You're being paced out basically, and it can feel frustrating because of that, because you're like, I like to see the problem, like I like to solve the problem, you know, like just figure it out. Like you don't want to be spending a long time doing this, but it seems like you don't really have any other choice within this because you're not being given all of the information up front. So you have a limited sort of perception that you can be working with here. And it feels like that's something that's also a part of this process for you as well. Some of you too, when it comes to connecting with this person, it's not like all happening sort of, well, is consecutively the right word? It can feel like some of you, you're not interacting with this person all the time, and so there can be like time delays in between, or there can be, you know, just an example, maybe you're trying to figure out your relationship with somebody, and if you were like interacting with them all the time, this would have happened much quicker, but maybe for some reason you can only see them like every other Thursday, you know? It can be something going on with that where when you guys do connect with one another, you feel like you're gaining an understanding of something. But I'm seeing Four of Swords above Three of Cups, and it's kind of feeling like you're not on or maybe in contact constantly with this person, or something is not constant, and so something is going on where there are delays. Well, it can feel like there are delays, like not everything happens at once. So something specifically about the timing here and figuring things out and figuring out the balance. And also your understanding and your feelings, and you're sort of not the only person here working through this. You have somebody else here I'm seeing with you where you're trying to figure things out, and both of you too can be leaning into what you're feeling as well, which can kind of be somewhat unpredictable because it's not really coming from like rational thought all the time. So, you know, you can have feelings that are coming up, and then what does that mean, and then dissecting those things. So this can also be part of it as well, like the intuitive, the spiritual process of this, along with the mental side of it, which of course is going to be present. It does feel like there's an intention here of working things out with this person. But I will say again, because of this Page of Cups coming out reversed, there can be something that feels like it's been going a little sideways with you and this person. Because Magician and Page of Cups, like right side up, can be like, I have an intention based off of my feelings with this person to initiate things and see where things go with them, and I'm interested, and so I'm making this gesture like, hey, I want to get to know you. That can be a way that that can manifest. But when you have Page of Cups reverse, it can be like you felt that way, and then Page of Cups reverse can be like, for some reason I want to like take that back, I want to like disengage from this, or I want to not get to know you anymore, or now I'm confused about that. Do I want to get to know you? Do I not want to get to know you? So maybe something was going on with expectations. Maybe you saw something that you were like, I don't know how I feel about that. It can be those types of things. There can also be you like taking a break from this person for some reason, but it may not be like a cut and dry thing. Maybe you feel unsure now where you're like, do I want to? Do I not want to? So it feels like all of these things are happening now. I get like a lot of, it can just feel really chaotic, like a lot is going on right now, and there's also an acknowledgement that not everything is out on the table yet. So as much as you may want to again deduce this, you're not able to at this point because you're not working with everything yet. There's still more for sure, and it will impact things. Interesting. When I'm cutting the deck, I'm seeing Chariot, which shows an obstacle being overcome. There can be time for reflection having to do with one's feelings, and that can also be part of this too. Yeah, I do feel like something happened where somebody was feeling something and then they could have been like feeling the opposite way, but then could have like come back to that space again. You know what this is reminding me of? Just that motion there. It's like when a planet is stationed direct and then the retrograde, like going backwards but then going forwards again, like something like that could have happened with you and this person. It's kind of like a lightning bolt. So it could have felt like you were moving forward with them, then something was sort of being undone, but then things like potentially started moving forward once again. So now you could be in a spot where you're like, oh, I have all of these feelings and I'm trying to make sense of them, because it looks like I get the sense of someone potentially like dismissing something or walking away, but then I'm seeing there be like a coming back together. And it feels too like this comes from a space when someone's like, hey, I figured out how I felt and I wanted to say this, but then I'm seeing the other person almost be out of that space. But then I'm seeing something come up and it feels like you guys connect with one another again. And now you could be in a spot where it's like, well, what does all of this mean then? Like, I thought we had something going on, then I thought it was like over, they didn't want to anymore. Now we're like reconnecting again. So now what does all of this mean? But having Temperance here feels like give this time to play out with you and this person and see what's going on. And also too, like cutting the deck and seeing Chariot means that if there's this desire within you to look at this as an obstacle, where on the other side of this is potentially something you want, it's possible for you to obtain that with this person. Like Chariot shows there being something that's difficult that can take a multi-dimensional approach to resolve, but then you get the outcome that you want from it. And so I definitely wouldn't advise giving up just because something's getting difficult. It feels like figuring out how do we compromise, how do we communicate, how do we collaborate, how do we work together here? That's actually the challenge. How do we find something that works for both of us? Like coming back to that original sentiment of what I'm seeing here. And also too, not feeling like you need to get all of this done in one day. Like I need to resolve all of this right now. There can be a part of you that feels uncomfortable with having to wait, but it's really necessary here. So that's what I'm seeing. So the part of you that may get antsy when you're like, why can't I figure all of this out right now in this moment and get to like deduce everything to know what to do with this? I'm seeing it be one of those situations where it's like, if it's worth it to you, if there's like even a slight chance that like, for example, things could work out with this person, if you would just be patient with it, wouldn't you be willing to be patient with it and see what happens? I do again feel like there may have been a false like somebody potentially moving away from something because they felt like it wasn't working, but I feel like it may not be exactly like that. It may not be somebody being like, no, this doesn't work for me. It feels like this is actually moving you guys in a direction together that will feel more fitting for both of you guys, that will feel more in resonance for both of you guys. So that doesn't mean the whole relationship is going to be left behind. It can mean that together it's going to be a more fitting dynamic for the two of you, whereas maybe before something wasn't. And there also could have been like a lack of, something could have been withheld before, and that could have been part of the reason why someone was sort of transitioning out of the space. But then it feels like someone, maybe almost like too little too late, but not really, but kind of that sentiment, somebody coming through and being like, wait, I have to tell you this, when it seems like someone is already like out of the space, but I'm not actually getting that be the case. Because it feels like this message ends up going through, and then something happens, like a spark reignites, or there's like just something comes to life again, and it feels then like things end up working out, is what I'm seeing. Where there's some type of gesture that ends up being made, and then Three of Cups is feeling like there's potentially a reconciling of something that could have before potentially felt like this wasn't working, but now it seems like because someone communicates and says everything that needed to be communicated, that it ends up being what was needed. So you could also look at this and see that there was some type of withholding or like a lack of honest, transparent communication. That could have been something that was throwing off the dynamic with you and this person. And I am seeing someone be like slow to actually leave a space. So I'm getting they didn't want to, but they also could have felt at the same time like, I don't know if this is working. It doesn't seem to be, but I feel like you and this person can do better. And it seems like that's what this is about. Like, work better together with one another, like be more collaborative and find what works for the two of you. Justice and Knight of Cups can also be somebody being like, hey, I really got to make this right. Or like, you know, it's like that, the Hail Mary moment that happens. It feels like something along the lines of that could have happened, where if something wasn't being done or if something needed to be corrected, in that moment of being like, well, I got to just put this out there then, you know, and that ends up being the saving grace. It seems like something along the lines of that I'm seeing here. But then after that moment of being like, well, now what do we do? Now that I was like leaving, but now I'm not gonna go, and like you caught my eye again, you know, brought me back around, and now it's like, oh, we're good with one another again. Like, what does all of this mean then? But only time will tell. But it seems like it's gonna work out having Chariot. I feel like the guides are like, well, we can't say for sure, but then cutting the deck and seeing Chariot feels like this is actually gonna work out, but you have to be willing to patiently move through the process together with this person, so you're not like running ahead and then they're going somewhere else. It's like you guys have to move together through this, and that is how it will work out. But I don't see the guides saying like be patient with this and work through it if it's not gonna work out. Like, it seems very much like it's going to, but you have to be down for the process. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing here. Also too, Justice and Nine of Wands is like, if anything is happening in an imbalanced way, or if there's anything that's not being done right, this is now the time to correct all of those things and to change the behaviors. And that if that's actually done, that this will work. So there's also willingness here. Like, it may be difficult for somebody to stay in a place of balance, for like maybe moderation to be practiced, or for somebody to be showing up the way that they're supposed to, or when like they say I'm gonna do this, to actually do those things. It can be stuff like that, and for some reason that can be a challenge within the dynamic. And it feels too like communication and working together is a thing too, like working together as a team and not just two individuals that happen to be just like bumping into each other. It's like, how do we actually see one another and communicate with one another and work with one another and compromise and figure this out, like we're actually being a team together, you know, rather than two solo entities just passing one another by. Yes, keeping the individuality, but also knowing how to like be in a dyad with this person too. And sorting through the emotional stuff, but I feel like that doesn't have to be so deliberate. It feels like it's going to be sorted out on its own. And it feels like if stuff is put into practice, that'll sort of organize itself. So it feels like even though you can want to be like, I'm tackling this right now to work through it, it feels like that's not really going to do anything. It feels mostly like the sun has to clear up the fog in due time. All right? And that is what I got for you, Gemini. We are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.